Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for a number of reasons. Number one, we're going to be talking to someone that is all about results. And that is something, obviously, that speaks to me because as all of you know that have been listening to this podcast for, over 4 years now, Nancy and I are people-focused and results-driven. And that's exactly who I have for you today with me on the podcast. But also, I had the honor and privilege of guesting on his podcast. And in the podcasting world, we call it pod swaps, where we swap on each other's podcasts to support each other's podcasts, support our networks, grow our networks. And it's the art of collaboration. That's what it's all about. So with all that behind us, Steve Mills, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the introduction. It's great to be here and really looking forward to sharing some ideas and discussing how people can grow their business.
Yeah, so absolutely, excited for all of that. So let's rewind the tape before we actually talk about the things that you're working on now. And what I always love to ask people leading off is if you can rewind the tape and press stop at a certain moment in your life where you feel that was that pivotal or catalytic moment that kind of set you on this path that you're still currently on. What was that moment for you?
Okay, yeah, great question. I suppose for me, it would be just as I was about to leave school. I didn't really try very hard at school, if I was really honest with you. And I spent a lot of my time trying to become the world table tennis champion. That was always my goal. That's what I wanted to do. And I sort of left school and I had a particular careers talk. And the guy said to me, "What do you want to do now you've left school?" And I said, "I want to be a professional table tennis player." And he said, "Yes, but what are you going to do for a living?" And I sort of walked out of there with an application. I originally come from Sheffield in England, and it's very famous for steel, Sheffield steel and Sheffield cutlery. And I finished up with an application for a job to go and work in the steel works. And when I was there, I've been there like, I don't know, must have been about 2 months. And one night, because we used to work nights and days and so on and so forth. And one night, this guy said to me, "What's the matter?" He said, "You don't seem very happy, Steve." I said, "I hate it here. I hate it." And he said, "Oh, just wait till you've been here 45 years like I have." And I said, "No way." And I literally tore off my coat and everything, threw it on the floor and stormed out. And that was a real pivotal moment. And that was the last job I ever had. I was 16 years old. I worked for a couple of months for British Steel. And that was it. I literally went and became a professional table tennis player for 10 years and did well. I never became world champion, but I did really well. And I think I took that attitude of trying to get better into business when I started my own business.
So if you can look back at those 10 years that you spent as a professional table tennis player, and I love asking this question because, people ask me this all the time, because in my former life, I was a health and wellness professional, personal trainer, sports nutritionist, competitive bodybuilder, all those things. If you could look back at those 10 years and hours and hours and hours that you spent honing your craft in table tennis, what skills or what lessons did you learn in that decade period of your life that translated into a lot of the work that you're doing now with people?
I'd say without a doubt, the biggest thing was I figured out that I pretty quickly got to be the best player in my area within Sheffield, which is a big city. It's like 2-3 million people, something like that. And I was clearly head and shoulders the best player in the area. And I figured that if I was going to be really good, I needed to get around people who were better than me. There was no use being the best player in the room. I wanted to be the worst player in the room when I was practicing, to practice with the best players and do what they do and do the same thing. And that's what I did. So I used to travel every day about 50 miles over to Manchester and practice with some of the top players in England. When I then got involved in marketing, and I thought to myself, right, okay, who's the best people I can learn from? And so I started really trying to get a good understanding of who's like the best marketing person in the world that I can learn this stuff from. And I actually Googled it, and it came up with Jay Abraham at the time. I'm sure you know of Jay. And at the time, when you Googled the best marketer in the world, his name came up. And whilst I still fully respect him, there are a load of other people now, that I learned from and have continued to do so. And just constantly keeping up to date is a real challenge, I think. But I like to do it by learning from the best.
No, I think, the teacher is always the student. And that's something that Nancy and I really pride ourselves on is, we're constantly learning, we're constantly getting educated.
Yeah.
We can take all of those things and obviously pour it back into those around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you know, we were just talking before we started. I came on your personal branding 5-day session last week. And why did I do that? Because I thought, you know what, I might be able to learn something. And I did, and it was great. And, for anybody listening, get yourself on the next one whenever Scott's going to run it, because it really was really, really good. So, thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to take part.
No, I appreciate that. And again, there's nothing that feels better than being a person of value. And obviously you heard that when we were doing the workshop, is that, when people see you as a person of value, whether now or later, or maybe never, but you're nurturing those individuals to give them something that could make their life better. And, obviously you and I live in that same mindset that nothing feels better of being able to help and serve and, help people achieve the things so they can live a better life. So when we talk about mastering results, and again, it's one of the things that you talk about often, not just on your podcast, but in everything that you do. I know that's kind of a very broad, I would say, topic, mastering results, but for people that are struggling with getting positive results, whether it be closing more sales or generating more leads or growing and scaling a business, what have you come to find in your years of all the coaching and consulting that you've been doing are some of the biggest reasons why people are maybe staying stuck in their business and not getting over that hump to getting better results in their business?
Okay, yeah, another good question. I'd say one of the biggest reasons is that they what I call FTI, so they fail to implement. People just don't, I hear people all the time say, oh yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, and I post on there once a month, and and I'm thinking, that's like saying I've joined the gym and I go and do 10 curls once every 6 weeks, and that keeps me fit. It's just not enough. People don't do enough, I don't think. So that would be one. I'd say another one would be, they don't do what you and I have just said you should be doing, and that is learning. How much time people put into learning about marketing and about sales. And because they don't, they then try things. They'll try and do marketing things, like they might do advertising on Facebook, or they might do, some LinkedIn or email marketing or whatever it is. And they behave, I believe anyway, like butterflies. They try Facebook marketing for, a couple of months, don't really invest very much. They spent maybe a few $100s, and at the end of it, they think, well, that doesn't work. I'll go and try something else, and they try something else, and they try something else. But it's for me, it's like equivalent to in sport going, right, I want to be the world table tennis champion. Try that for 6 weeks. Oh, no, that doesn't work. So I'm going to be the world tennis champion now. That doesn't work. So I'm going to try football. That would be better. I'll have a go at that. And you're just not putting the, the one thing about marketing, as we all know, it takes effort, and we're going to get it wrong sometimes. And by testing and changing and, looking at what's working and what's not and measuring all those sorts of things, that's when we get results.
Yeah. There's a great podcast that Nancy and I listen to, and it's called Coaching with Coach Ajit, Agit. He's amazing. I mean, he does a lot of mindset coaching, but we were listening to a podcast episode of his a month or so ago, and piggybacking on what you said, he said what happens most often is people spend too much time in the knowledge and self-education phase of business, and not enough time in the application phase. So we listen to all the podcasts, we read all the books, we attend all the workshops, all those things, right? So you're knowledge cramming, and you're building up this bookcase of virtual shelf help, but you're not doing anything with it. So people then wonder why they're not achieving things they want to achieve, because they're staying stuck in that education and that knowledge phase and not applying, not going into the application phase. Why do you feel so many people are stuck in that little gray area, that middle area where they know they have to apply what they've learned, but there's reasons that they're holding themselves back and staying in that little comfort zone of just educating and consuming?
Yeah. I was just going to say that comfort zone. I think that's it. I think that's one of the, clearly there are many reasons, they don't have time, or, they don't understand it, I think is definitely one of the reasons why people, particularly in this modern digital world that we're all living in with, AI and everything that's going on right now, that's definitely an issue. But I think it's to do with comfort. They're not in enough pain to actually take the action required, and I'm always talking to my clients about, pick up the phone and talk to people. That's where, money is made. Where the more people you talk to, the more money will end up in your pocket, is something a lot of my clients have heard me say, it feels like 1,000 times, and I think also, what you were saying about, buying books and things like that, and shelf development, I heard a little while ago that apparently most business books are never read, and in fact, only 10% of them are. So we buy these books, we go on these courses, we think that's going to make a difference. But it's what we do after that really makes the difference. And if we're not doing anything, it's again, it's like, you hear people all the time. I've done quite a bit of work in the past in the gym industry, and I know that's part of your background, and the amount of people that you see who are members of gyms and never go. I met a friend a little while ago, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know you were a member here." And he said, "Yeah," he said, "I've not been for 6 months." He's paying £80 a month to be a member, and he's not been for 6 months. It's just, crackers, as I would say.
I couldn't agree more. And, when people would be amazed if, and on the workshop that Nancy and I just did that you were a part of, I was asking, it was one of the days I asked everyone, I said, do you feel, just type a Y or yes, if you feel that you are the reason why you're not moving forward with your business. And I'd say 80% of the people, transparently and vulnerably wrote, yes, I'm the reason why. People don't realize it's not anything more than just a simple mindset shift, that leaning into the fear, getting uncomfortable, and starting to apply just like if people just applied, 5 to 10% of what they're learning, you're going to move the needle of your business forward. And when you start to see the results, you're going to want more and more. Now, with everything that you do as a coach, as a consultant, with, how you help people, if someone was to ask Steve really what made him different from other results driven coaches and consultants in the space, what would you say sets you apart from all the others that are out there?
I'd say my approach is very much geared around, I often call it marketing accountancy, because I have a very mathematical sort of bent to my psyche. I think it's all about the numbers. There's that old saying that numbers are the currency of business. Another one is you cannot manage what you do not measure. And so what I try to make sure I do myself and encourage and persuade my clients to do is to measure their results. It's so incredibly important. And yet when you speak to businesses and you ask them, how many leads did you get? How many of those did you turn into meetings? Where did those leads come from? How many emails have you sent out? How many new contacts have you got on LinkedIn? And so on and so forth. They really don't understand. And I'd say that's as high as 95% of them don't know their marketing numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, how can you improve them? That's the point. If I know I'm getting 100 people per day to my website, and I'm getting two leads as a result of that, there are two numbers there that I want to improve. I want to get more people to my website, and I want to improve my conversion rate. But how do I do that? Well, I can put effort into social media and email and search engines and paid advertising and so on. And then to get my conversion rate up, I've got to look at the actual page. So that could be obviously things like changing the words, adding a video, improving the video that's already on there, and so on and so forth.
What's your best, before we start to round out the episode, for that person that feels like they're still living in that fear state, they love personal development, they want results, they just can't get out of their own way. What's a small little something that individual can do to start moving the needle of themselves and their business forward? What's your best suggestion for that?
Okay, I'd say just, really simply, start to look at what I call the low-hanging fruit. The business that's sort of there, that's not really being converted, it's not about going and spending loads of money on something. Let's harvest the business that's already potentially there. I'm talking about things like leads you haven't really followed up, contacts that you've got that you're not keeping in touch with, perhaps joint venture relationships that you're not really maximizing, clients that you used to have that you've not been in touch with what feels like forever, referrals that you've never really asked for. That's a massive one. If you've got 100 clients, and let's say 10 of them are giving you referrals right now, and let's say 2% of them wouldn't give you referrals because, nobody's perfect. That leaves 88% of people who would give you a referral, but they're not waking up every morning thinking, who can I recommend Steve to or Scott to? They just would do, but they're too busy with their own lives to think about that. So having a system in place that really, starts targeting people, picking up the phone, going, hi, Steve Mills here, Scott, how are you? Yeah, oh, good, business, good. I was wondering, and off we go into a conversation where I could ask you or one of my clients for a referral. That's just easy. That's just low-hanging fruit. It costs nothing, and the conversion rate, often with referrals, is incredibly high.
Yeah, business is a contact sport. And if
yeah.
I remember Nancy and I were interviewing this amazing online marketer. He actually focuses a lot on SEO and websites. His name is Andy Crestadina, and he's just incredible. And he said, if you're not making friends in business, you're not in business at all. And that's the thing. Too many people are trying to convert every single person that they know into a client or a customer. It's not about that. there's more power in building business allies where people know more about you and what you do. So if they're networking outside of a conversation with you and a certain area or a need comes to play in a conversation they're having, they're going to remember you and they're going to refer you to someone. So it just really goes to show that, connecting with people, building relationships is one of the best ways to get results in any business. Now, Steve, before we kind of wind down, and I get to my final question, if someone was interested in learning more about you, your podcast, your services, your offers, things that you can do to help other people move into results, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
The best way would be at my website, which is www.steve-mills.com. That's MILLS. There's loads of stuff on there, free, loads of videos and links and downloads and all sorts of stuff. Obviously, my podcast, that's probably the place to start.
Awesome. Now, final question, no wrong answer. And, I've done over 250 of these episodes but I love the answers I get from this because everyone is different, but they're all around the same nucleus. And that question is, Steve, what does success truly mean to you?
What does success mean to me? I always remember listening to Tony Robbins years ago, and Tony said that the road is better than the inn. He said that, and what he meant by that is that the journey is where the success is. Like at the end, I remember at the end of my table tennis career, it just came to an end, and I thought, right, now's the time, and I'm going to go and do something else. And to be honest, it was a bit of a down period because the thing I'd been chasing, the excitement, was no longer there. It was like, all right, better go and get a proper job now. So I'd say success is the difference from when you started to where you are when you finish. That for me is the definition of success. If you've improved, if you've got better, whether it's in your business, in your health, in your relationships, if it's improved, then you're successful.
Yeah, I mean, again, improvement. It's progress over perfection, right? So we're not looking to perfect everything. We're looking to move forward, and we're looking for progress. That's what it's all about. So, Steve, always love our conversations, and truly grateful for your friendship and all the things that you're doing for all the people that you're working with. And I hope so many people took so much away from this episode, and just grateful for you. And thank you again for being a guest on the podcast today.
Thank you, Scott. And I feel exactly the same way. We are kindred spirits trying to help people. And that's what I love. Thank you.
Absolutely. So again, as always, wherever you're listening to this to and from, whether it be Spotify, podcast, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, please leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you love most about this episode or the podcast in general. And don't forget to subscribe. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time.